Well, good morning, dear friends. It's hard to actually believe that we are here in autumn, nearing the end of the year, and when we're looking at Daphne's diary, we're actually number 7 of 2023. Gosh, only one more issue, and then we're at the end of the year. Anyway, let's have a look at this and have a look at some of the ideas of things that we can actually do with it. And yeah, just let's see if we are inspired by this issue. So with these covers, they are nice thick quality paper, and you will be able to use these as covers for other little journals. They really are a very, very nice sturdy weight. So that's the first thing that I can say about that. Secondly, when we start to look through the pages, you will find that you've got to look at these magazines with slightly different eyes. So don't look at this as a whole big page. Start looking at individual components to see if there are things there that you could actually utilize. Sorry, let me just get this in focus. So for instance, here's a nice little hedgehog I could use. There's a butterfly, there's a couple of toadstools, and if I wanted to cut up the cover, I could fussy cut those. I'd certainly do that on a page. These initial pages, which have the numbers and things, these are very nice for your journals to add into. And then there's often very nice sort of illustrations of fruit or vegetables that can be incorporated in various journals, paintbrushes. There's just a lovely array of different things. Wedding pages. Look again at things like backgrounds here. This has got a lovely sort of chalky weatherwood feel, and if you had to cut out an area like that, it would make a lovely tag. And then there are these lovely areas here where you could actually cut that out, make it a tag. It's already got a bit of a printed border in there. So this is just a wedding spread, but again, lots of little things that you could actually use. Look at the colors as well and see how nice those colors could be if you were making up something where you just wanted a splash of color. Often you get really beautiful card that's available from the paper shops, but not necessarily in a variety of tones, and that is a very good good sort of tip to have there. Oh, chestnuts. I've got happy memories of chestnuts. In Cape Town, we used to go to an area called Constantia, and there were these lovely big chestnut trees, and we used to pick them up in winter. The tree was so big that the branches almost touched the ground. sorry. And we used to crawl in underneath there, and that had sort of that damp, woodsy feel with the leaves sort of just starting to decay. We used to pick these chestnuts up, and we used to go to a friend's house and roast them on an open fire. It was really, really lovely. Happy memories about chestnuts. This page has got a lot of information about the 2024 Daphne's Diary Journal, but look at these things individually. So you've got a whole lot of beautiful colors here. You've got little book templates. You've got things that you could make into tiny, tiny little journals if you made those as a cover. You've got a bookmark here which you could cut out. You've got various single sort of images here, which would be nice if you were fussy cutting those out. Lovely little images here, a couple of tags. So there's plenty on this page that you can actually make use of. These little enamel cups also have happy memories for me in South Africa. We do get quite a lot of white enamel ware. And when I had my shop, I used to do a class on painting on these enamel mugs. We used to use the Pebeo ceramic paints, and then once you've painted and they dried for 24 hours, you just bake them in your domestic oven. And they were lovely. We used to love these. They were great for picnics and things like that. Lovely little hearts. You could cut those out quite easily. And here's a doll to be made up. So the actual cardboard that the doll is printed on is quite nice and firm. I possibly wouldn't make the doll up itself, but I would certainly use the card for other things. And if you were clever, you could fold that over and make it into a nice little tuck spot or a pocket of some sort. Then we've got this lovely idea of making apple and carrot juice. And gosh, my mum was been a vegetarian for a very, very long time. And as a child, we had a juice extractor, and we used to make apple and carrot juice, and it really, really is delicious. Really nice. And then my gran, when I was a child, she always made stewed apples. So she'd peel the apples and then stew the fruit part, and then we would take the skins and boil them with a little bit of sugar or honey in some water on the stove and make an apple tea. That was also rather fun. Funny how these things just pop up from your past. Okay, so here's some inspiration. Here's a guy in France who's actually got a little shop. He's got a whole range of products and things. And, you know, we often look at somebody who's creative and successful and we think, oh, we can't do that. We haven't got the style. But I think when you look at his designs, they're absolutely charming. And yet, as we go through and we have a look at some of the paintings and things that he does, I mean, especially like that, it's almost naive or childlike in some of its essence. I'm not saying it's not carefully thought out, it is, but it has that sort of different style of charm. And I think be encouraged by that if you feel lacking in confidence when you come to do creation. It's your style that matters, it's your journey, it's your creation. Don't try and be somebody else, because then you're going to just set yourself up for failure. Couple of images here that you could use for fussy cutting. I mean, I think this one here, although it's a matchbox, you could cut that out as a lovely little tag or a very sort of enlarged stamp. Here's a nice moose or an elk. So quite a lot of camping images, outdoor things that you could use. Tips for cold feet. Yeah, we suffer with those in the winter, but I'm prepared this winter. A lovely sort of section with stickers. I tend to tear these out, and I've got just a plastic wallet that I put all my stickers in, so you would be able to use these, and you would be able to fussy cut them if you didn't want the shapes that they're on. So that would be a nice embellishment. Growing garlic. We've been preparing our beds now for winter at work, so I work in a horticultural field for part of my week, and yeah, we've been getting the beds ready. Some of the beds we mulch and cover over with membrane, and other beds we are planting some things that will overwinter, and garlic is one of the things that we can do. So we're prepping for that. Here's books of illustrations. This is very reminiscent, this image here. Let me just bring it a little closer to you. That lovely sort of charming little image. It reminds me of a storybook I had as a child called Pookie the Rabbit. And I absolutely loved Pookie the Rabbit. It was this little white rabbit that had wings and did all sorts of things. And yeah, that just is reminiscent of that. I did, funny enough, the other day Google Pookie the Rabbit, and I found some book covers. So I will pop that in so that you can see what I'm talking about. They were lovely stories, lovely illustrations as well. Whoopsie. So if we look over at the next sort of pages here, there are quite a lot of nice illustrations. Again, some lovely background pages and things that you could actually work with. Again, this artist has her own range of mugs and again her own style, so please just be mindful that we do all have our own style. Candle making. I used to teach candle making in South Africa when I had my art and craft shop, and we had loads and loads of fun doing that. One of the things that we used to do were just to take some of these, not these ribbed candles like those, but just a plain smooth candle, and we would decoupage onto that with a napkin, and or we would actually sometimes even paint with acrylic paint. And when either the podge or the paint was dry, we had a tin that was long enough to take the candle, so it had to have the length of the candle to be able to dip it in, and then we'd just dip it in clear wax, which sealed the image, and then also it made sure that when you burnt the candle it didn't burst into flames with the paper. And those were lovely as presents. We had great fun doing that. I just wish I'd taken more pictures then, but I didn't. Anyway, flower arranging. I love flowers, but I'm not somebody that actually likes them cut in my home. I prefer rather to have a plant growing in a pot that I can enjoy for longer. But I know my mom's a great flower lover, and she always had bowls and bowls of flowers. They're lovely. I just don't have the time to look after them. Here again you've got more of your Daphne's Diary covers, and these would just make lovely little tags, giant stamps. You could make little books of them as well, so don't throw them away. Some autumn exercises. We often don't think about exercises in winter, but they are important because I think we become a bit more sedentary. Okay, these are sort of like one-pot meals, which are quite nice. I love this background here with the grid. It's almost like graph paper, and I think that you can do a lot with that. You could grunge it up a little bit, and then you've also got this lime-washed wood, which will be super for different backgrounds. Here you've got various chutneys, and I must say that I was overjoyed the other day to go into Sainsbury's to find a chutney called Mrs. Balls. Now, Mrs. Balls is a brand of chutneys from South Africa, and the one that I was pleased to find was the peach chutney, because I could make a dish called babuti, which is, I suppose it really started as a leftover kind of dish. You'd have mince that you cook with some onion and garlic and stuff, and then you make up a paste with your curries and various spices, and you add in grated apple and some grated carrot, and you take a couple of slices of bread and soak those and put that in, and then you mix it all together. It's got a few other sauces and things that are added, but it is a delicious dish, and one of the ingredients that we needed was Mrs. Ball's peach chutney, and I found that at Sainsbury's, so I was really excited about that. And it is just a delicious chutney, but chutneys are really easy to make at home, so I think that you could enjoy that. We look at some travel things. Oh no, this isn't the travel, this is the letters to the magazine. There are quite a lot of small images here, which would be lovely, and really background images again for paper. It's quite nice now that it's winter, because it's a great time to do some fussy cutting. Love these borders that you could actually use, and yeah, just some lovely images here. A lovely sort of whimsy feel that you've got here. Look at this beautiful colouring of this background, this sort of weathered wall, where you can see that there's been a lifetime of lives lived here, each person favouring different colours, from the blues and the creams to the greens and almost sort of goldy colours. I love that. I love old things, and I love to just think about what happened and who used these things and what kind of lives they lived. So this is somebody that has a sort of more homesteady kind of life, and again, lots and lots of things that you could use. Been busy with a sewing journal, so that would have been lovely to have had for the sewing journal. And if you're doing anything with gardening or nature, you've got all these lovely images to do with farm life. I'm going to skip through a little bit here. You've got juices and things that you can make as well. Make apple juice, apple jams. This lady makes little characters, I suppose, with mushrooms as a theme. I don't know if I find them a little bit creepy. I must be honest myself. I think it's the eyes that make me creepy. Quite nice colourful images here of a market. This is rather lovely. A lady's taken old vintage kimonos, and then she uses the fabric to make up these lovely lampshades, and they're quite quirky in themselves. Beautiful colours again. And again, old fabric is something that I love. Right, so I do want to spend some time talking about this batik, because actually what they're doing in this article is not batik, it's tie-dye. Tie-dye is when you're taking your fabric and you're tying it up in different ways or folding it in different ways to dye, so that you've got some areas where you've tied it tightly that are white, and then the dye penetrates those that are exposed. Batik, however, is a different kind of a craft, where you're actually using wax as a block out, and you would normally use a tool called a shantang, and I'll show you what that looks like now. You can also do some stitching through your fabric, and then, you know, for instance, if you did a row of running stitches and pulled that really tight, you would get lovely little fine marks, and that's called shibori dyeing. So there's quite a lot to do around the textile dyeing as such. This page with the recipes is nice. These pop out, and the cardboard is fairly firm, so don't forget that you can use these borders to make up tickets or just tags, belly bands. There's lots that you can do. There's a little box that you can make up again with some nice firm card, and this will just fold out and come through. I don't know if I'd use that, but I would certainly use the background colors. And then lovely biscuits and wax melts and soaps. So I have a recipe to make a sort of almost like shortbread recipe, which has either grated lemon or lavender. And I tell you, the one with the lavender is absolutely delicious. I've done the shortbread with rosemary as well. It's equally delicious. I used to teach soap making, and we certainly used flowers in our soaps. Some worked better than others. And if you are buying like a melt and pour soap, which has already been cured, then you don't get much color changing. But if you have bought, if you are making soap from scratch, just wait until you have cured your soap and you're going to rebatch it before putting the flowers in, because it can change your colors quite dramatically. Wax melts are nice just for tea-like candles, but you could also make little sort of wax melts that you could use, but very small ones, sometimes even just with a pine cone, just to start off a fire if you have a wood burner. Lovely to be able to collect all the acorns and things at this time of the year, to be able to make up Christmas decorations and fall kind of activities. And yeah, they're lovely things if you go onto Pinterest that you can do with acorns to have fun. Fun little sort of advent calendar here, but lots of things here that you could fussy cut to enjoy. You've got your lovely little hearts, you've got your berries, you've got all your little sort of nutcracker soldiers, little books, pine cones, plenty there. Eggshells. I have a long history with eggshells. I know it sounds a funny thing to have, but I taught people how to do decoupage on eggs really a long time ago. I mean, back in the late sort of 1980s, early 1990s. And we didn't have that many printed napkins in South Africa. We were still having sanctions. So we used to make transfers out of pictures and then wrap those on. And my husband was a pilot, and he used to take them up to Namibia, which is a very large German population there. They love eggs, and he used to sell them to the shops up there. I then progressed to doing decoupage on ostrich shells, and I think my greatest joy one day was I got a map of Africa on the ostrich shell that actually looked like a map of Africa, because it wasn't that easy to fiddle with it. But they're also great sources of calcium, so if you use them with soil in like this to start off seedlings, you can actually just plant them straight in the ground, and they'll be really nutritious for your plants, giving them a really good start to the beginning of their lives. I love these houses. So, I mean, once you've done a little quiz, then you can actually carry on. Love the little giraffe. You know, coming from Africa, giraffe is a special place in my heart, and he's just quirky, so I think he's definitely got a place somewhere in my life. But if you have a close look at all of these little houses, let me just bring this a little bit closer up, you will see that most of them are separate. So you would be able to either use them as a frieze like that, or you would be able to separate them and make them into individual little houses. You could have great fun coloring those with either pencil crayons, you could use your watercolors, whatever your medium is, but those would be very fun things to actually add to your ephemera. So felting, this is a fun thing that you can actually work with, used with hand carded and dyed wool. There are two different processes. One is wet felting, which you see happening here, where you would layer strands of different color wool, or even different textures from different animals. You know, you might have some from a curly sheep fur, and then you might have some Angora, or you might have something that's really smooth, like that sort of texture. And you lay them on a mat, and you use some fairy liquid or sunlight liquid, as in used it in South Africa, with a bit of water, and you kind of smush it together, which means that the fibers lock into each other, and you can create nice pieces of fabric with that and make garments. There's another way that you can do felting, and that's with a needle, and they are fine needles with a very sharp point with a little barb at the end. So as you dab in and out of the felt, for want of a better description, it actually locks the fibers together. You have to be really careful when you're working with those, because they are incredibly sharp and you can hurt yourself, but you can make fabulous things. And there are some artists that you'll see on Pinterest and places like that who do these newborn babies, and they are just spectacular. They make babies out of wool that actually looks so real. They're incredible. Here you can see they've just taken some carded wool, wrapped it around pipe cleaners to make these lovely little angels, and that is a sheet of felt that has been made and then cut into the shape of a wing. So that's a lovely craft, a lovely winter thing to do, and if you are artistic and you want to do something like that, it's a nice different medium. But you could do something as simple as just make little balls for beads, for necklaces. Here you've got a few little images which are great for tags and journals and things. You can just fussy cut those. If you don't want them, you've got your background papers. The insert poster, I'm a little bit disappointed with this time. It's quite sort of plain and not much on it. but you would be able to use this as backgrounds for some pages if you wished. Teas are lovely. I quite often make an aniseed tea, and I also use fennel. They're very good as a detox tea, and they just taste a little bit aniseedy. Calendula is lovely. I've collected some of that from work because we grow that in our field, and also I've dried some chamomile, which is lovely. So certainly having a play around with tea, especially if you are looking to boost your immune system, your ginger, lemon and honeys are great at this time of the year. I love the idea of this, making these little moon cakes. They just look gorgeous. I don't know if I'd go to the trouble of finding a mold myself, because I probably wouldn't make them. I'm not that fond of cooking, but yes, they are nice. And if I had a family, well, I do have a family, but if I was living with younger kids, they would be a fun thing to actually make with them. Great backgrounds here that you can actually use. Lovely nature things. So this is a great idea for making a gift tag, which is biodegradable, or if you have young ones at home, at this time of the year they're not going to play outside quite as much because it's getting cooler, then these are some lovely craft ideas. The back of Daphne's diary, you always get a few of these lovely papers. They're not card papers with different designs. I love that one, and these are great for adding to your stash. And then we're at the end of another Daphne's diary, the next one coming out in November. So thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I've really enjoyed being able to share this journey with you, and yeah, if you hit the notification bell, you'll know when the next video is out, and you'll be able to make sure you don't miss out on anything. So thanks for joining me. Bye for now.